Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love your pants. I love your outfit.
Thank
it
you
looks
so much.
amazing. You look great
life
too.
on Mars. I just want to be prepared in case.
She's shiny.
Yeah. Guys, thanks so much for being here. Congratulations on the new album, on all of your success, and on this tour that you're in the middle of. Right?
Thank you very much.
Aren't you performing tonight?
We are performing tonight. Terminal 5.
Terminal
Hometown
5.
show. Yeah, stoked.
Get out there, guys. And it's not strange or anything, but you guys are doing the coolest thing with this tour, right? You're donating proceeds to the Third Wave Fund. Let's talk about that, where that idea came from, and why that was so important to you. But first, what Third Wave Fund is.
Third Wave Fund is sort of an umbrella organization that donates money to sort of grassroots queer and feminist organizations, sort of youth-led gender justice activism. For us, it was really important to use whatever platform we have, however small, to sort of further causes that we're interested in and that are important to us. And they've been a really great partner, sort of at the most grassroots, doing things that are really important to us.
Have you guys always saw yourself as cause-oriented, for lack of a better term? I think everybody should be cause-oriented or concerned in politics, because if you don't do politics, politics does you, and these should be things that you think about. But when did you realize that you could use your platform for that?
I don't know. I think we're strong individuals and we have a lot of opinions, but we never want to be preachy about how we see the world. But I think we just want to be able to provide an artistic space and community for our fans to sort of be themselves and be the most powerful individual or in creative versions of themselves. And I don't know, this platform sort of tied into that. So for us, it was never something inherent that we were, preaching or being cause for from the beginning, but it worked in. I don't know.
Do you feel like you're also riding the wave of on the wave of something right now that's happening culturally? More people are talking about this. I think more people care about LGBTQ rights in the last year alone than in the year before, and it seems to keep growing, and people are more concerned and empathetic than they were even 2 years ago.
Definitely. I think for us it's been an exciting sort of time as a gay man. It's always been very important to me to support LGBTQ rights, and so yeah, it's exciting to feel part of that, to feel like we're part of that wave, and yeah, again, putting whatever sort of spotlight on it that we can.
Let's talk about the new album, guys. So the new album, how would you say that it's different than the first, outside of the fact that it's the second?
Well, the first record, Max and I had never made music before. So Secondhand Rapture was really about sort of pure curiosity and experimentation and just sort of like seeing the limits of what we were capable of. And the songs just sort of happened unintentionally within like a free creative space. I think what was so fun about approaching How Does It Feel was, after having toured Secondhand Rapture for 3 years, having much better skills as a vocalist and as a producer, and be able to write a record with a lot more intentionality, and to be able to articulate our ideas and really hone in on what our sound is and what we really wanted to get across thematically and sonically.
As performers, I think we both realized how much dance is important to us on stage, and how a lot of the songs from the first record sort of took on this dancier feeling as they evolved, as we played them more and more on stage. So making sure that we had music that was you could move to and sort of made you move, as opposed to music that forced you to move it, instead of just sort of that we corralled into something more dance oriented, was really important. Even the songs that I think are more sensual or low-key or mid-tempo still have a sort of groove to them, and sort of a swag that was really important to us to bring out.
Well, you definitely start off with a punch on the new album. The first song alone, the first track is very dancey. It's very upbeat and moving. When you guys decided, it sounds like it was a clear decision and an intention to make an album that had more dancey tracks. Did you look towards influences? Did you think about people who made you get up and dance, that you really loved?
Definitely. We listened to, Painted, which is the first track on the album, which...
It's a great song.
Thank you so much.
It's so good.
Thank you. It does feel like you started the album in the middle of a heart attack a little bit.
I know, when I listened to the first time I listened to the album and that song came on, I was like, well, I got to go back. Did I miss the first 10 seconds of a song? Like, where? Oh, that's amazing.
I really love it about Painted being the first song on the record, because I think, Hurricane was a song we became known for on the first record, and that sort of interestingly put us in more of a chill wave, lo-fi box, even though we've always sort of claimed ourselves proudly as pop artists. And I think there's such a fire and electricity and energy to How Does It Feel that we really wanted to call that out like right off the bat with Painted. And And that song was so inspired by Mike Snow and Prodigy and Mark Ronson and artists that made you move, but not necessarily in ways that I think we think about like dance or EDM now as forcing you to move. And so feeling free, I think for us to pull from a variety of influences that, yeah, we're all about movement, but not in the way that I think more recently movement has been defined through EDM.
How would you say movement's been more recently defined?
I guess for me, being at, like, especially experiencing festival culture, it's been really interesting over the past couple of years seeing the electronic tents, build in size and becoming pretty much equal.
Oh, like the EDM festival?
Yeah. But EDM festivals, or even like, I'm thinking like the electronic tents at like Glastonbury or Coachella,
right.
And they're equal in power and size to the main stage now. They're their own event, which is awesome. I hope everyone comes to festivals and you find your own scene. But I always want people to feel like there's a variety of dance music and movement, and dance music doesn't need to be just one thing. There's a lot of different ways that people can experience that.
We've always considered ourselves songwriters first as well, and so the song is really important. That's really the driving factor behind the production as well. And so for us, it was important that you can have music that you want to dance to, but it's also, a good song at its root, and it's still a catchy melody, and a song that can be played in any genre. It can be stripped back to just a piano and still be sort of something that you want to listen to and something that holds emotional weight.
I love electronic music. I mean, that's such a broad thing to say. And
So broad.
And so do we.
Slightly silly. I'm sorry to say that, but I've found that the majority of EDM, or what's become the most popular EDM, quote unquote, is hyper masculine. And I came from like the period of like Heartbeats and The Knife, which was just sort of like beautiful, gender-aware electronic dance music that me and all my liberal arts college buddies dance to, And I'm so upset at where a lot of the most mainstream EDM has gone. Do you find when you're making electronic music, are you ever thinking about trying to pull back away from that, or making sure that you're making something that's maybe slightly disruptive of that at all?
I don't think so in a conscious aggressive way, no. But I do think, the electronic music that we find ourselves influenced by is like Air or Boards of Canada or Fortet, electronic music that's very emotional and nuanced. And I don't want this to sound like an attack or an aggressive
no, I planted
against
the attack,
EDM.
guys.
I don't mean it like that either. But I think those are the electronic groups that we first got introduced to, and that's the sort of influence that we weave into our own music, just by nature of those are the things that we grew up listening to and loving.
Right, like you said, Prodigy or Tricky, right? Like the early trip hop things into Air and everything like that, which was much more, I don't want to say chill, but much more intentional, I would say, than the current craze.
Yeah, but then
much
you look
more
at a
nuanced
band,
as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say you look at a band like M83, who made so many records and have been through like a huge development over time, and they maybe sort of started in the same era and time as Air and Boards of Canada, but then. Think about the fact that they wrote Midnight City like just a couple of years ago, and what a huge, electronic song and moment that was for pop music and electronic music at the same time. It's cool. I like how, in general, all these genres are weaving together. I think that's just the nature of being a band in the internet age in the wake of, cross-pollination of sounds and genres and subcultures, and it's awesome.
And you guys are playing at Terminal 5 tonight, right? Sorry.
We mentioned that we're playing Terminal 5
We're going to keep
tonight.
mentioning it till all of you come.
You had said that after the first album that you wanted to focus on, or you started thinking about being intentional and articulate. And how did you guys articulate that with each other? Was that something that you actually said, after the first album, after touring, like, I feel like now going into this, we can do A, B, and C, or we know how to do this, or I know how to talk to you a certain way, or anything like that?
Definitely. I think a lot of the first album was, a lot of creativity and working with other people is just learning to communicate and developing your own sort of vocabulary for talking about, creative output and how you're describing something to each other is almost as important as your actual ability to create it. Because if the other person doesn't understand what you're talking about or where you're going with it, you won't ever accomplish it. So I think there was definitely a vocabulary we developed, and we spent a lot of time over the 2.5 years of touring Secondhand Rapture just listening to music and thinking about why it made us feel certain ways. And for me, as a producer, especially thinking about bass lines was really important. When I was trying to write dance songs for Secondhand Rapture, I would turn the BPM way up and then just sort of throw a bunch of things in there and hope it made you want to dance. And after listening to all these songs, I was like, oh wait, I really love a really great bass line. Maybe I should try making a bass line that moves, that makes you want to dance a little in that, for example. So there were lots of different things that we talked about in terms of that that helped us, I don't know, broaden our sort of palette that we could pull from and sort of better articulate the vocabulary. Even though I think the impulse was the same for a lot of the songs on the second record. It was just that we had better skills and a more nuanced way of talking about them. So we could better articulate the songs, or the ideas behind the songs.
You said that you always thought of yourself as a pop group, even though you had sort of been initially labeled as a chill wave, right? Which is not a bad label to get. There's some great artists in there.
No, not at all.
But how did you start thinking of yourselves as a pop group? How do you define yourselves as a pop group? How do you think of a pop song? What does a pop group mean to you?
I think both of us have just always loved pop music, and when we first met and did our first session, what we bonded over are just our current favorite pop songs, and we loved music that at the end of the day was just classic, great songwriting. And we knew off the bat that we weren't going to make music that was intentionally difficult or non-digestible. We wanted people to feel drawn to it and feel emotionally connected to it. I think for us, pop was just a powerful and pleasant way to describe good songwriting and good music that was accessible to a large group of people and wasn't pretentious about what it was. And so, I don't know, that is sort of at the heart of what I think we're about. And pop was sort of a dirty term when we started, and then
but I
become
think
something else.
When we started, there was sort of this world forming of this sort of left of center pop that was, as Lizzie always says, too alternative for mainstream radio, but too alternative for and weird for mainstream radio, but too accessible or too, I don't know, pop for the truly sort of left field corners of the internet. And we found that space sort of, I don't know, really inspiring. And there were a lot of other artists that were coming out around that time who are now sort of laying the foundation for what's mainstream music. I think people like Mumford & Sons, or even Adele, or, at that time, Marina and the Diamonds, or Passion Pit. All these bands were sort of carving out their own space in pop, and so they were really sort of laying a foundation for what we could create. And it was an exciting space to sort of feel like anything was possible within this sort of overarching umbrella term of pop.
I also think for us, there is something radical and satisfying about coming out of a liberal arts college music scene where it was very cool to like music that no one had heard of and to make music that was pretty complicated and not understood by most people.
How many noise shows
really
did you guys
dig
go
into this DIY aesthetic and be like a truly indie thing. And what did that mean to be truly indie? And what was that street cred? And for us to come together and be like...
Oh, you guys went to Vassar, right?
We went to Vassar.
Right. I went to Hampshire.
Awesome.
So
I looked at Hampshire. Great school.
Yeah, many noise shows.
So you know what I'm talking about. And they were,
exactly
and that was an awesome time, and I loved that about school. But there was something radical then to take a DIY approach, neither of us having ever made music before, and be like, we're not going to do that. Let's challenge ourselves to make something that we think is genuinely really good and really classic and really accessible and something that can mean something to a lot of people. And now it's been really interesting in the past couple of years seeing this indie movement in so many ways move away from being indie. And so many indie artists for the first time are really speaking openly about being ambitious and wanting that pop success and being recognized worldwide and having crossover success. It's really interesting that that's happened. And I feel like another turn will happen again where all of a sudden pop artists will do something incredibly left field, and I think that's awesome. There should be sort of this cycle of what's indie, what's pop, what's indie, what's pop, what's anti, what's whatever moving forward.
I think so interesting, though, too, is that you, thinking about all these indie DIY artists that I remember from college myself, who then became sort of obsessed with pop. So much of what they were doing before that was kind of radical or freeform or sort of anti-pop has made its way into their pop songs. And
totally, or they're writing pop hits for major pop artists.
Exactly.
You listen to the Carly Rae Jepsen album, and you're like, this is something that is so cool in its production and songwriting, and for an artist like Carly to put it out is sort of a marker of where indie music has gone, I think.
In 10 years, people are going to go, where were you when you first heard Carly Rae Jepsen's album? So how long do you guys have left of your tour right now?
We're basically just starting out, it feels like. We're 2 weeks into a 2-month tour. going to finish the rest of the United States, and then we head to Europe for a little bit, for a few weeks. But
Is that exciting or daunting to go on tour?
It's really exciting, especially since this album was really written for the stage. It feels like this is, I don't know, the moment of truth when it all connects or it doesn't. And it is connecting. It's so fun on stage. And to see people dancing along and singing along and chanting along is like, it's the best feeling.
So let's take some questions from the audience. Does anyone have any questions out here?
Hi, audience.
You got a fan?
Hi.
Hey, girl.
Hi. Who thinks of the ideas behind your music videos?
We do. You know, we usually come up with a nugget or a kernel of an idea, or we'll have sort of a mood board or films or things that we're thinking about. And then we always have a short list of directors that we love. And we've been really lucky in the past to pretty much always work with our top or first pick of a director for a song choice. The videos are such a wonderful and fun extension of our, I don't know, whole creative as a band. To be a pop artist, you're not just a musician. You have this opportunity to create a world for people to experience your music and you as a persona. And so it's been awesome over the past 5 years, defining that off the bat, even through the Tumblr EP, and then getting to do it on a more formal, exciting level as a full-on video.
I'm going to ask a really annoying question really fast because we're talking about pop music so much, and it feels like a question that you have to ask about pop music. Because I have one, and it's a really lame pick, but what is your number one pop song of all time that if it comes on, you're up, you're singing, you'll never get sick of it? I'll say right now, it's Like a Prayer. I can't.
Great choice.
Great choice.
You're not going wrong with Madonna, of course. That's classic.
It's kind of cliche, but if you were to throw Like a Prayer on, I'm lost. I'm lost in that song immediately. What do you guys got?
Mine would be Robin, Call Your Girlfriend.
100%. That's probably number 2 or 3 on my list, too.
Oh my, well, it feels impossible to pick. I mean, it's not like the biggest hit in the world, but Beyonce, Why Don't You Love Me? Anytime that song comes on, like I need to bust a move. It's become a staple of Max and mine's karaoke set, which is not to be missed, but also never to be recorded. Yeah, Beyonce. Or maybe like Lady Gaga Telephone with Beyonce.
Beyonce's in there somewhere.
Beyonce's a consistent thread for me. Yeah.
Next question from the audience member, and before your question, your number one pop song.
It's definitely Beyonce as well.
Sick.
Ooh, Countdown. That's a great
That was a real close call for me,
That's a good one. Hi, guys.
Hi.
You guys seem really in tune with each other. Like, you have really great chemistry. I'm a huge fan of you guys. I'm curious, at what point did you guys realize that you were a great pairing artistically, or how did you guys know that you would work so well together when you met?
Well, honestly, even though we both went to Vassar, our first session was really the first time we'd hung out one-on-one. So we were both taking a big chance and a sort of a risk. But we'd never written music before, so we didn't really have any framework to follow. And I don't know, that first day we did a cover, and we were attracted to all the same sounds. There was just a really good vibe. And our second day together, we wrote Bones within a few hours. And I think after that song, we both sort of realized there was something special there, and it was something that we really just enjoyed doing. And I don't know, we were really casual about it. We never said, oh, we're a band, or we're gonna like get a record deal and tour, and this is gonna be a career. We started out really super casual, just being like, okay, we wrote one song, let's write another one. And oh, that second one was good too, let's write a third one. And then little by little, we realized we had a sort of body of work, and then we were like, oh, maybe we're a band, and then maybe we should like tour this, and then maybe we should spend 24 hours a day together. So it could have gone really horribly wrong, but it's been really great. And I don't know, I think we've sort of grown into each other, and it's been 5 years now, spending literally every day together. And so you learn a lot about a person. It's really intense and really, really, mutually supportive.
Next question, and your favorite pop song before your question, please.
Okay, I was actually thinking about it when you asked her, but that's really hard. Probably like any Britney Spears song, maybe like "Oops, I Did It Again."
Great choice. Great choice. I would maybe go with "Toxic" on that one. Great.
She has
just so many to pull
hits.
from. It's.
So I was wondering, you're going on this big tour around the States, and you said Europe next. Do you have a favorite city to perform in?
We have a few. I mean, we're lucky that we've been able to tour around the world a couple times. We particularly love playing Australia. We're a little biased because they particularly like our music there, so it's very mutual appreciation. We really love playing Berlin. That's a really awesome city. It reminds me a lot of New York, so that sort of feels like burgeoning home away from home. We particularly love Atlanta. Love playing Atlanta, Georgia. It is probably my favorite place in the States to play at. I can't really explain it. It's just an amazing crowd. Every time we played, the shows have always been particularly awesome. And we look
clearly
forward
have
to it.
no one from Atlanta in the
Yeah,
audience.
I know. It's like so specific.
Everyone's avoiding eye contact.
And Kansas City also is like such a good time. Yeah,
Kansas
everyone's
City
like,
in the
what are you
house,
talking
or-
about? I recommend these places. They're amazing.
Guys, congratulations on the new album, on the tour, Terminal 5 tonight, right? And the proceeds from this tour go to Third Wave Fund, which is incredible. Great job. Thanks so much for being here and talking
Thank
to
you
me.
Thanks for having
having
us. Thanks, guys.